Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the Mining Podcast. And today's guest is Jim Greig, who's President and Director of Benchmark Metals, who are a mineral exploration company focused on proving and developing the substantial resource potential of Lawyers Gold and Silver Project, located in the prolific Golden Horseshoe area of northern BC in Canada. Jim's a geologist by background and has worked in Africa and Canada over the past 20 years plus. And he's going to tell us more about Benchmark Metals and what they've been up to, plus much more. So that's welcome, Jim, to the podcast. How you doing, Jim?
Very well. Thanks for having us, Rob.
No, and I appreciate your time as well. So yeah, I wondered if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career. As I mentioned, that you've worked in Africa and Canada. You may have worked in other countries as well. That's all I found on you. So yeah, just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your career, and then obviously I've got a number of questions I want to ask you around Benchmark.
Yeah, well, I'm a 25-year veteran, probably over 25 years now. So that explains where the bulk of my hair went, lost through mining. You know, myself and partners and team, we're all an exceedingly good technical group. We've been involved in some very large discoveries through the year. We've also been in the position where we can attract capital to put these new discoveries into production. Most of my time, in fact, about 110% of my time is spent at our new flagship company called Benchmark Metals, which is gold and silver in northern Canada. Excuse me, but more recently and through the last cycle, I was involved with another company called Keegan Resources. And Keegan went from a new discovery in West Africa, trading at about 25 cents, and through discovery and proving up more ounces, it went to well over $9. So created some great wealth for investors. And at the end of that path, we actually put the mine into production. So, excuse me, one of the many good stories that our myself and team and colleagues have been involved with, and it's a testament to the same type of skill set that's now attributed to Benchmark Metals.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's some obviously good figures on the African resource with Keegan Resources, which I now know is a Senko gold.
That's correct. Yeah.
So yeah, some great results there, and obviously great share price. So I just wondered if you can give us an overview of what Benchmark Metals is all about.
Yeah, so Benchmark it's a gold and silver developer. We're quickly moving towards production. Last year, we provided near 3 million ounces of gold and silver in 3 open pits. But since that resource from last year, we've drilled near 100,000 meters. And we're on the verge of disseminating an updated resource estimate. This resource, the new one, should be much larger, more robust, and will have almost entirely all ounces in the measured and indicated category. So we've really de-risked the project with tight drill spacing, and now we're showing, you know, very good quality ounces, the majority of which will be mineable in open pits. Following that resource estimate, which is, by the way, it's imminent in the next 2 weeks, we will have a preliminary economic assessment. And this new PEA is our first maiden economic and engineering study. And that should provide all the metrics and numbers to show that this is a very profitable endeavor. So there's some big milestones in the next 2 months. We have 16 million Canadian in the treasury. And these funds will go towards advancing the project further right through to the end of 2022. And the third big milestone to come here is a feasibility study in early 2023. So roughly, 9 months from now, 9-10 months, we'll be at a decision to put shovels in the ground. That is a go-to mine decision at feasibility level. So, we're rapidly advancing this story. We also have a number of majors that are reviewing us. One of them was involved in the equity raise that we did December of last year. Yamana Gold now owns a position of the company. So that validates the project and the management having a major mining company take part in an equity position.
The company currently has a 3 million ounce 43101 compliant resource with an updated mineral resource estimate coming out shortly. Can you give us some guidance on what we should expect?
Yeah, I would anticipate a new resource that is north or over 3.5 million ounces. We've been giving a range of 3.5 to 4 million ounces. We're quite confident on that number. So this is a large expansion from the previous resource. But I think that the more important takeaway here is the quality of the gold and silver ounces, because they're in a much higher category. They're in measured and indicated, which can be used in the feasibility study for next year. So we've de-risked this project with very tight drill spacing.
Can you tell us about the quality?
Sure. So the average drill hole is in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 meter spacing. And what that does is provide good consistency of mineralization at depth and along strike. The larger the gaps that you have in drilling, the less you're not able to prove the consistency in the grade. But because we're within 15 meters, it shows very good consistency at surface and at depth. And this is a number that moves us above comparable companies. Measured and indicated is a rewarding number for the quality of these ounces.
Yeah, and I wondered if you can, I suppose, compare, tell us a little bit about how this project compares to some of the other projects that you've been involved in over your career. And obviously, as a geologist, you could probably compare the resource with other projects that you've been involved in.
Yeah, there's, the average grade of open pit resources in North America is about 1 gram per ton. That's, that's gold equivalent. But we're actually averaging well over 1.5 grams. Our last resource was 1.6 grams. So this just speaks to the high grade nature of these open pits. It is a world-class scope and scale size, very large deposits. And I think the opportunity here for investors looking at Benchmark is that our average grade is much higher than the other developers. We are in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We will continue on this path by showing high grade open pitable material.
Following the updated mineral resource estimate, and the company expects to release a preliminary economic assessment, what should investors expect from that?
The PEA will provide some robust numbers and payback periods. And what's helping with this PEA is we have 2 core zones in the open pits that have plus 2 gram material at the center. And those are right at surface. So these 2 core zones will be mined in the opening years. And that will greatly assist with the payback period and the NPV and IRR. So I would anticipate, close to a 15-year mine life and a very reasonable capex to put this into production. Can't comment on all the numbers because we haven't published or seen the PEA yet, but it's about 2 months away from now. And I think we will not under-deliver. I think the metrics on this PEA will surprise.
And what will the drill campaign this year focus on?
Yeah, so this year we're drilling approximately 30,000 meters. A portion, or perhaps about half of that drilling, will go towards further defining the current resource. And then we'll have approximately 15,000 meters that will go towards more exploration drilling. This week we announced some drill numbers on a new target. This is a new discovery area, and we'll focus more on areas like that to show that there's multiple satellite deposits outside of the heart of the property. So truly, Benchmark is aiming towards a 5 million ounce total for the project in mind, but that's going to take another 1 or 2 years to get to that level. But certainly with a resource last year of near 3 million ounces, we're already at a world-class type of scope and scale mine.
For those that are not necessarily familiar with mining in Canada, obviously this podcast goes out to over 170 countries around the world. I wonder if you just tell us a little bit more about the jurisdiction, the area, and also what the First Nation relationships are like.
Sure. So our region in Northern Canada is proven and prolific. We're surrounded by companies like Newcrest Mining, Newmont, Freeport-McMoRan, and Centerra Gold. These are world-class mining endeavors. And within this region, there's been over $5 billion in merger and acquisition activity. So this goes to speak to why these majors are in the area. They're buying companies like Benchmark. They're looking at replacing new ounces, but they are doing it in Canada because it's got a safe rule of law. You understand the tax structures, and there's no issues like you see in some less developed countries where they repatriate the mines. You take full ownership of these properties, and the geology is such that the mining endeavors are very profitable. On the First Nations, Rob, I can say we've signed several First Nation agreements with our partners in this region. They're working with us through exploration to development. They're looking for generational type jobs and economic benefits. And key to this is that it's all done in a sustainable manner. So we've got some very good close relationships with our First Nation partners.
With Yamana being a strategic investor and Royal Gold owning the royalty on the Lorna's project, do you see the path to production through one of these companies, or perhaps is it there more, or is there something else happening, or remains to be seen?
No, I think there are multiple major mining companies looking in this region, and they're looking to take over companies like Benchmark to generate new mining endeavors and continue with their mine feed through the years. It's very clear there's been a number of takeover targets and successful acquisitions over the last 5 years. The Yamana ownership helps validate the project, certainly, and the management. But they started with an initial 4% equity stake in the company. And we've heard that perhaps they have increased that with open market buying, but we will not know until their financials are published. But certainly Yamana Gold is an active company looking to acquire new companies. But especially looking to acquire in a tier 1 safer jurisdiction.
The feasibility is expected in Q1 of next year, as you've mentioned. What do you think the company could look like then?
The feasibility study work is happening as we speak on this. We're performing a lot of technical work to get towards feasibility. At the feasibility level, you once again reduce the risk on the project because the metrics and the technical and the engineering efforts are more defined. At that feasibility study decision next year, that is at the point where we begin our environmental impact assessments and start the mine permitting process to actually begin production. So this is a line in the sand with the feasibility, and it sets us to a path of producing gold and silver in 2025.
And also, obviously, we're recording this in May 2022. Looking at the comparable companies, Benchmark Metals is clearly undervalued. So I wonder what your thoughts are around that at this particular time.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for investors to get into this company because there will be a re-rating with these milestone events that are on the horizon. A larger and more robust resource estimate followed by a preliminary economic assessment will adjust the market cap of the company. And we're actually trading below our peers as we speak on a per ounce basis. Benchmarks, we're getting value at about $47 per ounce for our previous resource estimate. But the average for comparable companies in North America is 72. So we're well below our peers, and that does not account for a new resource that is weeks away. So, you know, at some point fundamentals kick in and there's realization from the financial community that we're undervalued. And I think we're right at that point in time now. The market cap will move and set accordingly to other comparable companies.
And as a conclusion, I just wonder what the outlook is for Benchmark for the remainder of the year, and also wondered if you had any sort of last thoughts.
Yeah, I think we're in a very good environment. On just last thoughts here, gold and silver have extremely good structural support for an increase. Gold's about $1,800.50 an ounce US. I think there's every opportunity for that to lift near the end of this year, and it's all based on cost inflation, worldwide debt, and this geopolitical risk that you see around the globe. Those are all contributing factors that make gold a safe haven asset. And our path line here along this year is, you know, there's 16 million in the treasury. We're working towards the feasibility study for early next year. But there's two big events just around the corner here, and one of them's that updated mineral resource estimate, and then a PEA. And both those events happen in the next 2 months. So there is an opportunity for a re-rating and a lift in the stock. That's why you should be looking at acquiring some of Benchmark, no question. And I can say that management has been actively buying, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah. Just lastly on that then, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the management team.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Rob?
So yeah, obviously you mentioned the management has been buying shares. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the management team.
Sure. So the management team, directors, board, and even close associates and consultants, we all own a large position in Benchmark. We're somewhere between 10 and 15% overall ownership in Benchmark. We've always contributed in the various financings through inception in 2018, but you do see us on occasion buying in the open market as well.
Okay, that's great. That's good to hear. Jim, really appreciate your time in sharing us, give us an update on Benchmark. And obviously, looks like there's exciting things ahead and in the obviously near future. So really appreciate your time, and perhaps you can come on the podcast later this year and give us an update on obviously some of the PEF and the obviously updates on your findings. So if our audience wants to reach out to you and they have any questions, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, they can visit our website at benchmarkmetals.com, and my email address is splattered across our website, but feel free to contact me. It's just jimg@benchmarkmetals.com.
No worries. We can include that in the show notes, which accompany the podcast as well. So,
Very good.
yeah, wish you all well for the rest of this year, Jim. And for those that are listening, appreciate if you can share this episode, especially those in Canada, but obviously others outside of Canada as well. Appreciate if you can share this episode amongst your colleagues and others in the industry, so we can get this podcast out further afield and across more people within the 170 countries that that this podcast goes out to. So appreciate your continued support. All the best, Jim. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you, Rob.